let's get started. Okay, so by the end of this webinar, you will be able to interpret a table and bar chart, select the key features of a chart or table, write a clear introduction, overview and body paragraph, and use a range of language to describe two data sets. Okay, so thinking about task 1, who finds task 1 more difficult than task 2? Does anyone who think task 1? Okay, so some of you do, right? Why do you think it's harder? What's more difficult about it? It's the comparison, okay, the data, right? Interpreting the data. Yeah, how to analyze. Okay, yeah, I mean, I think it's, there's a really precise structure that you need for these tasks. And it's also about the language. So you need to, yeah, so Oksana's saying too limited vocabulary. So you really need to learn the language of trends, for example, that can be useful for this task. And I think understanding the structure. Okay, yeah, Layla, that's a really good point. So it's hard to just analyze the data and not to give your opinion. Yeah, so you're just really talking about what is there. You're not thinking about why it's there. And that can be hard, yeah. So we'll just look at a few of these things today. Okay, so this is the task. So just have a quick look at this. So the table shows the results of a survey which sampled a cross-section of 100,000 people, asking if they travelled abroad and why they travelled for the period 1994 to 1998. Okay, the chart shows the destinations over the same period. So you're looking at two different types of data here. Another thing to notice is it's an American English. Okay, so normally we would have double L, travelled. Batahan, yeah, I have actually presented this one before, so we do tend to repeat webinars, okay, but we tend to repeat the more common ones. So if you've already done it, this will just be consolidating what you've done, okay, and there might be some more information that you get from this anyway. But it's great that you've done that. So it's great, I really recommend just doing that, going over them as much as you can. Right, so just have a quick look at this data here. Okay, first of all, we'll start off with the table. So the table shows the results of a survey which sampled a cross-section of 100,000 people, asking if they travelled abroad and why they travelled for the period 1994 to 1998. Okay, as I said, the chart shows their destinations over the same period. It's easy, good. You should get a good mark then, Sosom. Right, what type of chart is this? It's a table, yes. What is being measured? Yeah, visits abroad by, yeah, UK citizens, UK residents. Okay, so you need to make sure that when you get this kind of question that you don't panic, okay, because there's quite a lot of information you have to read. So you really need to take a bit of time to read it and underline, if possible, underline the key information. Okay, and then what are the time periods? What's the time period? Yeah, 94 to 98, that's right. So what tenses should you use? Okay, this is really important. Past tense, yeah. So often when I look at these types of tasks, people use the wrong tense. It sounds might sound a bit strange, but some people might use present perfect. Okay, just think if it's in the past, you use the past, right? I mean, you might use the passive, but that's not a tense. Possibly past perfect, let's see. Generally, it's past simple, okay, but let's have a look. Right, and then we've got this chart here, right? I'm not going to read it out again, but what kind of chart is this? It's a bar chart, that's right. Yes, and what's being measured here? Yeah, number of people doing what? Yeah, so people traveling, it's their destinations, that's right. Okay, so that's the focus of this bar chart. So the time period is what? Yes, it's the same as before, 1994 to 1998, so therefore it will be the past tense. So really, you just need to spend a minute probably looking at that and trying to answer those questions. Okay, so at least you've got that really clear in your head. So you can't use present tense, Omer, because it's not the present, okay? So you really need to look at the years, okay? If it said 2020, you could use the present. Right, identifying key features. Okay, so this is what you should do first. So Nora, it wouldn't be the present perfect because there's no present. So there has to be past and present within it to be able to use that, okay? Because it's 94 to 98, it's all in the past, so it would all be past. Right, so first of all, thinking of these questions, what does the data do? Okay, in other words, does it go up or down? If you have a look at that. Generally, what does it do? Yes, it goes up. So if you look at all those figures, it generally goes up. Okay, there's a little bit of fluctuation, but generally up. What are the highest and lowest points? Yeah, 1998 is the highest point, yes, of holidays, that's right. What about the lowest? The lowest in 95. Yeah, that's right, that's for other reasons. Are there any similarities between any of the categories? Business visits, yeah. So business doesn't really change and friends doesn't really change, and they're fairly similar in terms of the numbers. Yeah. So you just need to kind of mentally get this information at the beginning so you're really starting to understand what the table is telling you. Are there any notable exceptions? Anything that's completely different or stands out? 1996. Yeah, 1998, other reasons go down. Okay. Yeah, 95, that's right. Some categories went down. Yeah. Yeah, so just keep that in mind. So the main thing, okay, to think about is that most people traveled for holidays. That is the most obvious thing there. Anything else? There's always a decline in 1995, yes. Yeah, Neo, so I was saying before, with one L, it's American English, okay? With two L's, it's British. Total in 1995. Okay, let's have a look. So the number of visits abroad increased over the period. Okay, that's another point to notice. So Sunita, sorry, I'm trying to kind of acknowledge your questions as we go through it. It depends. I mean, if you're, maybe if you're planning to come to the UK, or if you're studying in British English, I would use British English, otherwise American. But it doesn't really matter as long as you're consistent, okay? Lovette, so make sure that you stay in the same type of English all the way through, right? It doesn't matter, you know, it doesn't have to be British. It can be American, but just make sure you're consistent. Right, so they were the main features, and now this one. Okay, so the most popular destination by far was Western Europe. Anything else that you can see from this bar chart? Anything else that's key to this? So that's obviously the most obvious, that's the most obvious thing. Yeah, so other areas remain constant, Rachel, that's right. Yeah, Northern American other areas are really low, that's right. Okay, the other thing we noticed was visits to Western Europe increased. Okay, so you can see this increase here. It does go down slightly, but then it increases. And then something that some of you noticed, visits to North America and other areas were low and stayed fairly low. Okay, so they're the three main features of that. So as you can see, we've got 3 features for this chart, and then I think we had 2 for the other one. So you need probably about something like 3 or 4 or 5 features, probably about 4. I would aim for about 4 altogether.